I want to do a quick review of interval notation. It basically uses endpoints to represent an interval of values. Okay. So you may remember way back in the day, if you had like x is less than 3, we may have graphed that on a number line, and we would say, okay, if it's less than 3, open circle 3, and we would graph everybody to the left. So in interval notation, we use parentheses when the endpoint is not included. So that would be if you have strictly a less than or greater than, or old school, it would have been an open circle. That's when we use parentheses. If we had an x is, say, greater than or equal to 1, we would have graphed it. Here's the 1, and it's to the right because x is larger than 1. So we would have colored in the 1 and then colored in to the right. Well, that's when we would use bracket. So brackets is when the endpoint is included. So that means we would have a less than or equal to, a greater than or equal to, or a closed circle or colored in circle. And again, a parentheses is this, brackets are this. Let me help you out there just in case. What's a bracket? A union, just a big U, is used when we have 2 or more intervals. That's a lot of times when we use the word or. In other words, this interval or this interval would work. Now, a little side note, if we can list all values, we use braces, which are like this. So that's different. Intervals is when everybody between negative infinity and 5 works, or everybody between -1 and 7. So every decimal, every fraction, every number, real number, every square root between those 2 values is included. We use the interval notation because there's no way to list all of those numbers. But if we're only looking at 5, 7, 9, and 12, well, we can write those out, 5, 7, 9, 12, and use the braces. Also, positive and negative infinity always use parentheses. Okay. Because they're not actual numbers, therefore they're never included, hence the parentheses. Just a quick review before we hit the next topic. Domain and range. So the domain is the set of all possible input values. So if I had a function value like this, the domain is everything that I can put in as an x, everything I'm allowed to have. The range is the set of all output values. So this would equal the range, everything that's a result, that's an output. So let's take a look at how to find the domain and the range. First, let's do a graphing example. Let's graph something. Let's suppose we start over here at -4, -2. I'm gonna do a closed circle at -4, -2. I'm gonna do maybe a couple of squirrely loops, but then I'm going to hit 0, 4 up here on the y-axis. And then I'm gonna come down and let's do an open circle at 3, 1. So when you're looking at a graph, when you're looking at the domain, we're looking strictly at the leftmost and rightmost x values. So notice our x's go all the way from -4, it's always left to right, out to 3. The -4 is included. So we would write bracket -4. Everything, every x value is included all the way up to the number 3, but the 3 has an open circle, so we would use parentheses. So again, that's our domain, left to right. Our range, however, is all of our y values, our output values. Our lowest point is at -2. Our highest point is at 4. And again, you always go from smallest to largest. So we're going to go from bottom to top. We've got the -2, which is included. And we have the 4 that is included. Now, depending on the graph that they give you, they may not have given you a point at this 4 here. It may look just like that. Don't overanalyze it. Assume that it hits at a nice number. It should be at like either half or 4. If the homework has you estimating or something, or if it's off by a little bit, let me know.